My first thought is this was the most disappointing contract in Padres history. This was the worst contract in Padres history. They gave him $144 million. And he produced a 3.7 baseball reference WAR for the Padres. And Fangraphs, you can look at Fangraphs and you want to go to that. But a 3.7 B WAR in almost 600 games with the Padres. You know, Fangraphs has that dollar value metric, like how much money would you make? I think that's what it is on the free agent market based on that year, like in millions. How much should you have been paid based on like actually how you performed on the field? $0.6 million total in his 4 full seasons with the Padres. Obviously, he played part of 2022 with the Padres, but his first 4 full seasons 18, 19, 20, 21. Now, 20 was a short year, obviously, but that was like one of his good years with the Padres. $0.6 million in Fangraphs valued in that dollar metric. There are players that double that WAR in like every season that they play. And it's not Shohei Ohtani, it's like position players. They double that B WAR in one season. Almost 600 games, 3.7 B WAR. And some may think, well, why do we treat Jake Cronenworth different from Eric Hosmer and all that? Well, Cronenworth, there's some differences here. Like Cronenworth, he has versatility. He delivered a great moment in the postseason for the Padres. And he's someone that works his butt off and he takes accountability and is trying to improve. And Padres fans, we didn't get that vibe with Eric Hosmer. And Jake Cronenworth, he speaks to the media, he owns up to things to the media, and that's not what I got from Eric Hosmer. It didn't seem like he was trying super hard to do whatever he could to be that player that the Padres paid him to be. And it felt like he was okay just living in San Diego. And sure, I'm not bashing him as a teammate. Like every player in that clubhouse that I hear talk to the media says that, yeah, Eric Hosmer was the best teammate ever. But Padres fans, we don't really care about how great of a teammate you are when you're not doing good on the field. And defensively, it didn't seem like he was working on it because it never got better defensively at first base. I don't know. Maybe this is something that worked for him in Kansas City, so he just kept doing it. And no Padres coach said, hey, maybe don't do that. But throws to first base, you know, a guy's going down the line and he steps backward into the running lane to catch a ball that's on a hop because sometimes it felt like he just like couldn't pick it. So he tried to step back to get a little bit better on the receiving end of things, a little bit better angle, I guess, on the receiving end of things at first base. And the ball would end up colliding with the runner. I remember watching that Padres Cubs game at Petco. And I think Crony made an amazing play, a great throw, and it got ruined by Hosmer because he steps back into the running lane. If I could point to one play Eric Hosmer with the Padres, it's against the Astros, and all the diehard Padres fans will remember this. And I remember where I was. I was sitting in a hotel. My uncle had a wedding in Arizona, and it was Padres Astros. I think it was the day of the final round of the Masters or something. And Bregman hits a pop-up sky high, and Hosmer is calling it, and he doesn't drop it. He didn't touch the ball. It goes behind him. Pop-up in the infield. He's running in, and it literally drops in behind him. Walk off, and the Astros win. And that was when they still had the blue uniforms, obviously. The gray, the San Diego, kind of boring, right? But yeah, there was that. There was that. There were the bad picks. There was balls going under his legs. There were all of the strikeouts, all of the double play, ground ball into double play. Yeah, it was not fun. And when Eric Hosmer was finally dealt, and that was that whole day, right? I think it was that same day. Soto here, Drury they acquired, and Hosmer was dealt. It was like, man, this is one of the best days of my life. I remember that reaction video, and I was sitting right here. I was smiling, like I feel like almost that whole time. when that was announced. So I don't think Eric Hosmer is this terrible human being. Like let's get that straight. But as a diehard Padres fan, and I'm talking to a bunch of Padres fans right now and on this show, like you sign up for that deal, I'm sorry, I'm expecting you to give a ton of effort. And when things aren't going your way, I'm expecting you to work your butt off to try to get back to that player that you were. Like it's the thing. I'm not trying to compare Hosmer with Bogarts, like in terms of work ethic, but with Bogarts, right? Won a couple World Series with the Red Sox. We don't care about that. We care about what happens in San Diego. So there's frustration with Padres fans last year about Bogarts' performance, right? With Hosmer, we don't care. We were excited when Hosmer was first signed because we didn't know what was going to come. We saw some of the accolades, the Gold Gloves, the World Series, the leadership that was being talked about when he was with the Royals, when he was first coming over. And it was like, this could be the first major piece. And then Manny comes and we're super excited, right? But he didn't deliver that with the Padres. Nowhere near that. He never won another Gold Glove with the Padres after winning 4 with the Royals, never won a World Series, didn't get to the postseason in any full season. His numbers were not anywhere comparable to his numbers with the Kansas City Royals. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that he was Anthony Rendon for the Padres in terms of him only viewing this as a job and him thinking baseball's not a baseball's never been a top priority for me. It's a job. You know, I do this because it's a job. I'm here. I'm providing for my family. That's pretty much like Anthony Rendon's mindset. I'm not going that far, but it's kind of near that. Like there are plenty of players that I could point to that have been on this Padres team, that are on this Padres team, that view this as more than just a job, that they really care about winning for this city. And just didn't see that with Eric Hosmer. How many, and I don't want to go too deep into this because then that gets kind of like personal, but I do have that thought in my head. How many community events did Eric go to? You know, I'm not asking him to be Tim Hill, but again, like the comparison thing with Cronenworth and with Hosmer and with some other guys that maybe they don't perform up to the contract and they disappoint in some seasons, but there's just a different feel about those guys. It feels like those guys really, really care. And with Eric Hosmer, I didn't get that. I did not get that. And he is starting, by the way, a podcast. I think it's a production company, Digging Deep podcast. And episode 1 is live now, so I'll give him his plug there. You can check him out there. But there was a clip that I posted that I saw because I watched this full first episode because I wanted to see what this show is about. And there's a clip here talking about his time in San Diego. It's like 30 seconds. And I was laughing in my head about what he said here, some of the comments that he made here.
I'll be the first to admit performance wasn't what I wanted it to be, wasn't what I envisioned it to be. But at the same time, some of the stuff that was being written or some of the stuff that I read or people had tell me was, I wasn't doing that due diligence in the locker room. I was actually doing the opposite, pulling people apart. And that's something to me where I felt like I was on an island right there. Like I want to tell my story. I want to be able to tell people what's going on here, what's really happening. But I just didn't have that platform. And I feel like baseball players in general don't have that platform. You see a lot of guys in football now. You see a lot of guys in basketball that have that ability to have that platform and say, hey, this is what's really going on. So,
so he felt like he was on an island, didn't have the platform. What are you talking about, dude? You could have talked to the media. I don't think he ever went on Ben and Woods, and they have on players all the time at spring training and during the season. Woodsy was saying this morning that I think Hosmer canceled on them. Like, you had the platform, you had the opportunity to give your side of things. Instead, I think Padres fans remember him saying just rude things to the media and being not pleased with a question to him that I thought was a very valid question I think this was in 2021, this video was posted. And Jeff Sanders asked him about how would it feel, essentially, like, would you be disappointed if you were dealt from the Padres? And he gave this response.
Disappointed, or how disappointed would you be if you were moved off this team after being through some of the lows?
I think that's a dumb question on your part. I think you're better than that question. Thank you, guys.
Like, what? I think that's a dumb question on your part. Well, you had the platform, one, to give your thoughts on things, and you chose not to give your thoughts on what was actually happening. And then you go like bash questions from the media. And it's like, I don't know. This podcast may be interesting. I'm sure Manny's going to be on there at some point, and there will be something that will be interesting from that. Maybe he'll have some more opinions on his time with the Padres, but look, not surprised that no other team wanted him. Not surprised that he is retired. I'm sure there's some fans that thought he had already retired. The Padres are not done with Eric Hosmer, by the way, because his contract is through 2025. They have to pay this guy $24.5 million, I believe, combined through 2025 over the next 2 seasons. And I believe the Red Sox are still paying him. It was a terrible contract. The Padres, it felt like they were bidding against themselves. They wanted to bring in that superstar, and they got Eric Hosmer, but kind of feels like Xander. No team was willing to give Xander anywhere near $280 million. And I hope that that contract doesn't look like this Eric Hosmer contract at the end of things. No one was willing to pay Eric Hosmer something close, in my opinion, that the Padres were willing to pay him. And the Padres have to sit with this deal. And with the financial budget that they have, wouldn't it be great to have, $12, $13 million of more room to spend? Maybe Juan Soto would still be on this team. Maybe a big starting pitcher would be in this rotation. Maybe a star outfielder would be on this team, even if it wasn't Juan Soto. But this is where we're sitting at. Eric Hosmer sitting on his butt, retired, and the Padres still have to pay him $12+ million a year for the next couple of years. Good luck in retirement, Eric.